For more than 126 years, Kumara has been home to a traditional country race day that has turned into an iconic West Coast event. I welcome to the stage, as well as their mayor, two volunteers who have dedicated huge hours to this tradition, the Kumara Race Club.
Good morning, everyone. The Kumara Racing Club's race day has been a West Coast tradition since 1887. They've weighed out, have no handicap, and they're ready to race through their presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to introduce Pat Fitzgerald and Joan Mates.
G'day. My name is Pat, and this is my sister Joan. We've been volunteers at the Kumara Racing Club for over 65 years between us, and we're both life members. This is why this race meeting has been able to survive all these years, because people have dedicated tens of thousands of hours over many decades for its success. But we're not the only silly buggers who have given up endless hours throughout the years. This is Bill Stewart holding up the gold nuggets for our big race, which are presented in a greenstone bowl donated by the Bostridge family. Bill was the president for 38 years and was involved for over 60 years. This year, the race meeting was dedicated to another long-serving volunteer, Hex Sinclair. He didn't miss an AGM for 64 years. He was an active member even until his death late last year. These two men are typical of the dedication that our club has known from various members for 126 years. Today's committee is just as keen to see that the track and its buildings are race ready for the annual event. Over the years, we have had to continually raise the bar to ensure the track can be raced on in any weather. I take personal responsibility for the track maintenance and upkeep, fertilising and watering. The committee is responsible for the infrastructure that hosts the race meeting. New Zealand Thoroughbred Racing is responsible for the racing, while the TAB is responsible for the betting. The committee raises its funds from the event by receiving 16% of its on-course turnover. The rest of expenditure we have is paid for by fundraising and scrounging around. An example is when we hosted a field day on the inside of the track, enabled us to get a whole area humped and hollowed, improving the drainage and sowing with grass at no cost, then leased to a local farmer. Prior to this, it had become hard to see horses on the back side of this track. Keeping the buildings in top condition means that other groups are able to get the benefit of our facilities, like hundreds of competitors and their supporters who invade Kumara for the annual coast-to-coast multi-sport event. The Kumara community uses the kitchen and track to help cook, reheat food for the pre-race banquet at no charge. Multi-school sports events are held here, involving schools from Haas to Karamea. We help out in various one-off uses. The keenest Kumara locals use the track all year round and keep fit. You can see them with the dogs striding out around the track in all sorts of weather. You can see in the summary the booklet, all the groups that use our track just in the last year. Over our lifetimes, there have been hundreds. The recent drought, our wells sunk to artesian well, was a godsend to people who relied on rainwater tanks. They got their water for free. The reason the Kumara racetrack is there is to host the annual race meeting. This is when the volunteers come to their own. The preparations start earnest just before Christmas. There's a job for everyone, no matter what their skills. Every little helps. Wives, children and friends are roped in. The new stables get a fresh layer of sand to make sure the horses arrive into clean stalls. There's no shortage of paint for most fences and buildings getting a touch-up. A new set of starting gates are shared between 3 other West Coast clubs. The grounds get a manicure and machinery ranges from secateurs and tractors. Because we're open to the public, we need to be sure that everything is safe to use. Sometimes these old buildings can be a bit temperamental. So we need to check everything to make sure it doesn't let us down on the big day. Bernie makes sure the roof is up to scratch. No leaking buildings here. Then he supervised the running repairs. Handy to have a few carpenters and an electrician on the committee. Then on the second Saturday in January, the work is done and this day is set to go. Our grandstand is a grand old lady and has stood the test of time for 126 years. She is a heritage building and is built by volunteers, all materials being donated. Thanks to the support of the Westland District Council, we have an extended car park to cater for the growing number of punters that come to Kumara races, who can now all park off the highway. We used to be free to attend, but we have had to start charging an entry fee to help for the maintenance of the buildings and the track. We have a grandstand, an office block that houses secretary's office, jockeys' changing rooms, toilets and showers, a separate toilet block and my president's bar. I've been in charge of the president's bar for 33 years. I stock it fresh every year by paying visits to many local hotels and asking for a donation. It is free on the day to owners and trainers, sponsors and visitors. The tents you see on the slide are provided by the club for the corporate visitors. They are a relatively new initiative, which is a popular addition to the race day experience. It allows us to change, we feel, more for the privilege. Our new band rotunda that you see here was donated by a King Kumara supporter, Kushla Martini. Sadly, Kushla died not long after her precious rotunda was finished. The band rotunda is now a stage for the fashion of the fields, music entertainers, including the famous Crocodile Band.
My job is the lead up to the race day to clean out the buildings and the big and small totes and the men's and ladies' toilets after the starlings have nested there all spring. I clean and wash down the walls, wash the curtains, wash the tables, benches, sinks and floors, and then touch up with white paint. I clean the cupboards, ovens, kitchens, cups, plates, fridges, kitchen, and where necessary I touch up still with white paint. Then I clean out the swab box and touch up with white paint. After that, the grandstand gets a water blaster, floors, seats and steps, and they get a touch up with white paint. I'll move on to the barbecue area with the water blaster and finish it off with a touch of white paint. More white paint. The jockey showers get cleaned and the shower curtains and mats are all washed, and then I touch them up with a bit more white paint. By this time, the race course is getting smaller. Closer to the day, I order food, buy in supplies, and arrive at 6 a.m. on the race day for the delivery of hundreds of pies and other goodies. The rest of the day is spent making sure that the TAB staff, stripes, jockeys, trainers, starters, Pat's president bar, barbecue staff, and the Crocodile Band are all supplied with food for free. The tea rooms and the barbecue sell venison steak, sausages and white bait for the cub, all maintained by volunteers. I wait there until the end of the day to make sure that everything is locked up. It's a big day and I love it.
This is a famous Crocodile Band. Next one, Judy. The standard of dress has improved dramatically since the Fashion of the Fields competition was introduced a few years ago. The event is run voluntarily by locals and guest judges. We keep finding ways to reinvent the race meeting without losing a unique country character. A special part of the day is to run the children's entertainment. This is also done by visitors. Over the years, the thoroughbred racing has continued to raise the bar in terms of facilities we must provide if we want to hold our race meeting. We understand the need for safety, so we do our best to ensure everything is up to standard. We operate on a shoestring and have done for 126 years to keep the race meeting a must-do event on the regional calendar. Without our facilities, many visitors at local events could not be hosted, so Kumara Racetrack is pivotal to the coast and coasters. Our motto is, we lead, others follow.